The galaxy is vast and filled with countless worlds, each one more mysterious than the last, and yet none so strange as the planet the humans discovered drifting in the far reaches of the known universe. At first glance, it appeared to be nothing more than a barren rock, forgotten by time, and uninhabited world, with no signs of life, no atmosphere, and no reason to visit. Yet something about its energy readings caught the attention of the exploration crew, a small group sent to survey remote sectors of space. They expected little more than an empty mission, but when they arrived they found an anomaly. The planet pulsed with strange energy waves that defied all known science. This was not supposed to happen. There was no reason for such a planet to exist in its condition. Something was hiding just beneath the surface. The crew landed their ship with little fanfare. The planet's surface was covered in dust and jagged rock formations that stretched into the horizon. The air was thin and the gravity weaker than Earth's, but nothing seemed unusual until they began their descent to the surface. Something flickered just at the edge of their sensors, a faint distortion in the atmosphere, something alive yet undetected. As the explorers stepped onto the planet's surface, they felt the weight of the silence around them. It was overwhelming, the kind of silence that makes your ears ring, and the hairs on the back of your neck stand on end. They moved cautiously through the dusty expanse, their boots kicking up clouds of ash. As they walked towards the source of the energy readings in the distance, a faint glow began to appear like a mirage on the horizon, shimmering in the dim light of the distant star. What they found there would change everything they had ever known. It wasn't just the landscape or the strange readings that caught their attention, but the beings standing in the midst of it, all humanoid in shape, but utterly alien in form. Their skin glowed faintly with an iridescent hue. Their eyes were dark pools that seemed to reflect the very fabric of the universe itself. They stood perfectly still, watching the humans with quiet curiosity. There was no hostility, no aggression, but something in their presence felt almost overwhelming in energy, unlike anything the crew had ever encountered. A feeling that the very air around them seemed charged with potential. They had no words for it, no explanation, but they knew one thing for certain: they had found something far beyond their understanding. The silence between the humans and the beings stretched on for what felt like an eternity. As the explorers stood frozen in place, unsure of what to do or say, the aliens made no move to approach or communicate. Instead, they merely observed, their eyes gleaming with an intelligence that seemed to pierce through the very fabric of reality itself. The crew felt an inexplicable unease, but also an overwhelming sense of wonder. This was not a first contact like any they had prepared for. Nothing about it fit into the neat boxes they had learned in their training. There were no weapons, no hostile gestures, just an unsettling calm that sent shivers down their spines. The crew leader, a seasoned commander named Raynor, took a cautious step forward, unsure whether to make the first move or wait for some sort of invitation. But before he could do anything, one of the beings made the smallest motion, raising a hand just slightly towards them, as if beckoning them closer, not in a forceful way, but with an invitation that was almost hypnotic. Raynor exchanged uncertain glances with his team before taking a hesitant step forward. The rest of the crew followed suit, their movements slow and deliberate, as if afraid that any sudden gesture might break the delicate balance of the moment. The beings made no further movement, but their eyes followed the humans' every step, and as they drew nearer, the crew could feel an energy building in the air, an invisible force pressing in on them, not threatening, but profound, like the weight of a cosmic truth just beyond reach. Raynor stopped a few meters from the nearest being and waited, breathless, for something, anything that might indicate what these creatures wanted or why they had called them here. And then it happened. One of the beings raised its hand higher, this time not in a gesture of command, but as if in an offering, and from the tips of its fingers a soft glow began to form, a radiant light that hummed in the air around them. The crew's hearts raced, but no one moved. The light pulsed and flickered as if waiting for them to make a choice, and then a voice echoed in their minds, not in words, but in understanding. A clear, calming presence filled their thoughts. "We have been waiting for you." The voice in their minds was not intrusive but soothing, as if it had always been there just beneath the surface of their thoughts, a presence that felt both ancient and ageless. The crew stood frozen in awe as the words, though not spoken, rippled through their consciousness. "We have been waiting for you." It was not a question nor a statement of alarm, but a simple truth that seemed to echo through the very fabric of their beings. Raynor tried to speak, but no words came. Instead, his thoughts tumbled over each other. In confusion, who were they? Why had they been called here? What did this mysterious species want from them? The voice responded without hesitation, not in words, but as a gentle understanding that washed over him. "You have crossed the threshold of your destiny. Just as we once did, you are on the edge of something greater than yourself, a path to power far beyond what you have yet conceived." The others felt it too, a shiver of recognition deep in their core. They couldn't explain it, but something within them stirred, as if they were standing on the precipice of a revelation that could change everything. Raynor blinked as the being nearest to him began to raise its hand again. This time the light that emanated from it expanded and surrounded them in a soft ethereal glow. It wasn't harsh or blinding, but calming and cool, like standing in the heart of a distant star. Their minds were flooded with images of impossible beauty, vast swirling galaxies, planets in their infancy, energy flowing between stars in a way that defied understanding. The crew members saw it all at once, a deep connection to the universe itself, as if their very souls were being entwined with the cosmos. Suddenly, one of the crew members, Dr. Larkin, a physicist, could no longer contain her shock. She stepped forward and raised her hand towards the light, her voice trembling as she spoke. "What is this? What are you showing us?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. The being's gaze softened, and another wave of understanding rippled through them. "All this is the true nature of reality," they responded, not in words, but in pure, overwhelming comprehension. "It is not bound by time or space, nor by the limitations of the body. It is the force that binds everything together, and it is within you, all waiting to be unlocked." The words reverberated in their minds like a cosmic hum. The crew stood in stunned silence, unable to process what they were being told. Their understanding of the universe was collapsing around them in a flood of new knowledge and revelations. It was as if they were staring at the heart of the cosmos, and the heart was staring back at them. The light that surrounded them shimmered as if alive, pulsing with an energy that felt both foreign and familiar. All at once, Dr. Larkin's eyes widened as she grasped the enormity of the realization they had just stumbled upon. This wasn't just a discovery of an alien species. This was a discovery of something far greater, something that could rewrite the laws of physics itself. As the crew tried to comprehend the gravity of the moment, the peaceful stillness of the alien beings shifted suddenly. An overwhelming pressure filled the air. It was not threatening, but urgent, a call to action, not just to the humans, but to the galaxy at large. The beings had watched the humans for some time, waiting for the right moment to reveal themselves, waiting for the right moment for humanity to understand their place in the grand design of the universe. But they could not remain passive any longer. The galaxy was on the verge of chaos as old empires fought for control, and a new force was rising, one that could threaten all sentient life. One of the aliens moved forward, its hand still glowing softly. It reached out to Raynor and placed its palm against his chest. A pulse of energy rippled through him, and for a moment he felt as if his very soul had been touched by the stars themselves. His heart raced as images flashed before his eyes, civilizations rising and falling across the galaxy, battles fought not with weapons, but with the manipulation of forces far beyond any technology. Raynor's breath caught in his throat as the alien spoke again, this time not in his mind, but aloud, its voice soft yet filled with immense power. "You must choose now. Humanity is at a crossroads. The decisions you make will determine the future of this galaxy and of all life within it." The weight of those words sank into the crew's bones. It wasn't just about them anymore. It was about something far greater. The fate of an entire galaxy hung in the balance, and the choices they made in the coming days would shape everything. Raynor looked at the team around him and saw the same fear and wonder mirrored in their eyes. They weren't just explorers anymore. They were guardians of a future they had not yet fully grasped. The silence that followed was almost suffocating as the weight of the aliens' words settled into their minds. The crew stood together, their faces etched with a mix of fear, awe, and uncertainty. Raynor felt his pulse quicken as he processed the gravity of the moment. The future of the galaxy rested on their shoulders, but how could they possibly understand the full scope of what they were being asked to do? The beings before them had shown them the power that lay hidden within the universe, But they had not given them the answers they needed, they had only pointed the way. And now it was up to humanity to decide which path to take. Larkin was the first to speak, her voice trembling with both excitement and apprehension. But what does that mean? How do we make this choice? How can we even begin to comprehend the consequences of our actions? The alien's gaze softened, and the light around them flickered gently, as if to reassure her. It is not about understanding everything all at once, the voice echoed in their minds. It is about choosing to act with wisdom, to seek the truth within yourselves, and to understand that the power you hold can either save or destroy. All that you know, the choice is yours. Rayner's mind raced. He knew that the galaxy was on the edge of something far beyond war or politics. This was a turning point, a moment when everything could change forever. But they were not prepared to make such a decision. They had come here for exploration, not to become players in a cosmic game whose stakes they barely understood. He turned to his team, seeking guidance from the faces of those he had trusted for years, but he saw only the same uncertainty mirrored back at him. One of the younger crew members, Lieutenant Vargas, stepped forward hesitantly, his eyes wide with awe. "We have to learn to use it, don't we?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "We have to unlock this power inside of us." Rayner nodded slowly, realizing that the young lieutenant was right. They had to unlock something within themselves, something greater than they had ever imagined. Humanity had always relied on its technology, its weapons, its ingenuity. But now they were being asked to rely on something much deeper, something that transcended all of that. It was not just about fighting for survival anymore. It was about understanding the very nature of the universe and how they fit into it. The pressure in the air grew heavier as the beings remained silent, waiting for their decision. Rayner's voice broke the stillness as he finally spoke. "We will try, we will seek this power and understand it. But we need guidance. The galaxy needs time to prepare for what's to come." The aliens seemed to acknowledge Rayner's words with a quiet understanding, as if they had already anticipated this response. There was no impatience, no judgment, only a deep sense of patience and calm. Their eyes gleamed with ancient knowledge that stretched across ends of time. But they did not press for an immediate answer. Instead, they nodded, and the air around them shimmered as if responding to an unseen force. One of the beings stepped closer, and for the first time the humans noticed a subtle change in its form. It wasn't just its appearance, but the way it moved now. It seemed more solid, more present, as if it was choosing to make itself more accessible to them. The alien reached out its hand, not in a gesture of power, but one of offering, its palm open and glowing with the same ethereal light that had surrounded them from the start. The glow shifted and rippled across its skin like liquid starlight. A soft hum filled the air, a vibration that resonated in their bones, and without speaking it began to show them something. Images flashed into their minds, far more vivid than before, scenes of the galaxy's distant past and its future unraveling like a tapestry woven by the hands of time itself. They saw stars being born in the vast expanse of space, massive structures of energy that seemed to exist beyond their comprehension, civilizations thriving and crumbling, and within it all was a singular truth that was becoming clearer with every passing moment. These beings were not just guardians of this planet, they were stewards of knowledge, something far older and more significant than they had ever imagined. They had witnessed the rise and fall of countless species, and now they were waiting for humanity to join them, or to fail just like all the others before them. The images continued to flood their minds, revealing the true scope of the universe's complexity, the vast potential that lay hidden in every corner of space, but also the immense dangers that lurked in the shadows, powers that could reshape the galaxy and beyond, powers that humanity had yet to understand. Rayner's heart pounded as the final image flashed before him. It was the galaxy in flames, entire star systems being consumed by a dark force, spreading across the stars in a way that was both terrifying and inevitable. The end was coming, but there was still time to act. The beings spoke again, this time their voices not just in their minds, but resonating through their very beings. "You must choose now humanity's path. Will either illuminate the galaxy or plunge it into darkness. You are not the first to be given this gift, but you may be the last." The weight of the choice hung heavy on Rayner and his crew. It was no longer just about discovery, it was about survival. and the future of everything they had ever known. The gravity of the situation pressed down on them like a suffocating weight. As the aliens' words echoed in their minds, Raynor's hands shook as he looked at his crew, no longer sure if they were prepared for the responsibility that had been thrust upon them. What had they truly gotten themselves into? All of their training, all their missions had led to this moment, and yet none of them had ever been taught how to handle the knowledge and power they were now being offered. The path ahead was uncertain, fraught with dangers they couldn't fully understand, and the temptation to ignore it all and return to the safety of their old lives was strong, but deep inside they all knew that was no longer an option. Darlarkin stepped forward, her eyes wide with a mix of excitement and fear, but also determination. She was the first to break the silence. "We can't turn back now," she said, her voice barely a whisper, but carrying a strength that seemed to fill the air. "They've shown us something that's beyond anything we could have imagined. This is real. We're not dreaming or imagining this, and we have to decide whether we're going to be part of it or let everything collapse around us." Raynor nodded, his throat dry as he considered her words. It was true. They couldn't walk away from this now, not with what they had seen, not with the weight of the galaxy's future pressing down on them. The alien beings watched them silently, their expressions unreadable, yet somehow understanding. Their patience never wavered, as if they had all the time in the universe to wait for humanity's decision. But that was part of the test, wasn't it? They were being asked not just to choose whether to accept the power they were being offered, but whether they could wield it with wisdom and responsibility. Could they rise above the temptations of greed and violence that had plagued the galaxy for millennia? Or would they fall into the same traps as every species before them? Vargas, who had been quiet for most of the conversation, finally spoke up, his voice full of uncertainty, but also a spark of hope. "What if we can do this? What if we can evolve? What if humanity can be the ones to make a difference instead of repeating the mistakes of the past?" His words hung in the air, and for the first time since arriving on this planet, Raynor felt a flicker of possibility, a small glimmer of hope that they could rise to the challenge. After all, this was the very reason they had ventured into the unknown in the first place, wasn't it? The alien beings responded to Vargas' words with a soft pulse of light, a recognition of his statement, and Raynor's heart skipped a beat as the weight of their words settled into his bones. Humanity had not been chosen by chance. They had been chosen because they had something special inside of them, a potential they had not yet fully realized, a power waiting to be unlocked. The alien beings seemed to understand the internal struggle of the humans as the air around them thickened with a sense of urgency. The lights surrounding the creatures pulsed with a gentle rhythm, as if matching the heartbeat of the crew. As they stood at the crossroads of their future, Raynor could feel this pulse quickening as the decision they had been avoiding became inevitable. The galaxy was at a tipping point, and whatever they chose would ripple across time and space, affecting everything within its reach. The weight of the decision was crushing, yet the aliens' calm presence offered a strange comfort, as if they were there to guide them, not force them to make a choice, but to reveal the path that humanity was destined to take. One of the beings stepped forward, its luminous hand raised as if to offer something tangible. A deep sense of knowing filled the air as it held out the hand towards Raynor and his crew. He could feel the power radiating from it, not in a physical sense, but something deeper. It wasn't just energy, it was possibility, the kind of power that could reshape the universe in ways he couldn't even begin to fathom. Yet somehow it felt right, as if the universe itself had led them to this moment, and now they had to step forward into it. Raynor glanced at his crew members and saw the same mixture of fear and determination reflected in their eyes. They had come so far together, and now they were standing on the edge of something they couldn't fully understand. But perhaps that was the point. It wasn't about understanding everything before acting. It was about having the courage to step into the unknown, to embrace the potential within themselves, and trust that they could wield it for the good of the galaxy. Darlarkin spoke up again, her voice steady now, but with a deep conviction. "We can't wait any longer," she said. "This is what we came here for. We've seen what's possible. Now we have to believe in ourselves and take the first step." Raynor looked at her, and then at the rest of the team. Each one of them had come to this point for their own reasons. Each one had their own doubts, But they shared something greater than fear. They shared a belief that humanity was capable of more than it had shown, that they could transcend their limitations and become something greater, something worthy of the galaxy's trust. Raynor took a deep breath and stepped forward, his hand reaching out to meet the glowing palm of the alien with a sense of finality. He knew this was just the beginning, but it was the beginning of something new, something brighter for them. All the light enveloped them completely, and the universe seemed to hold its breath as the first step was taken into a new era for humanity and the galaxy itself. The light enveloped them in a quiet explosion of warmth and understanding as the aliens' presence melded with their own. The air around them seemed to pulse with infinite possibilities. Raynor could feel the power surging through him, not as an overwhelming force, but as a gentle guidance pulling him towards something far beyond anything he had ever known. His body hummed with the energy of the universe itself, and for the first time in his life, he understood what the beings had meant about power. It wasn't about control or domination. It was about connection, about understanding the intricate threads that wove everything together in the vastness of space and time. The same energy that connected stars and planets flowed through every living being, and it was waiting to be unlocked. The crew members stood beside him, each one of them feeling the same shift within themselves as the power began to take root deep inside them. It wasn't instantaneous but gradual, as if their minds and bodies were being rewritten to match the frequency of the cosmos itself. Their senses expanded beyond the limitations of their physical forms. They could see through the fabric of space itself, feel the pulse of life that ran through every corner of the galaxy. Tarlarkin gasped as she felt a new awareness bloom within her. She could sense the pathways of energy that connected every particle of matter in the universe, and as she focused, she could almost see the threads of life stretching from one star to another, connecting all things in a way she had never imagined before. It was beautiful, overwhelming, and terrifying. All at once she looked around at the others and saw the same awe reflected in their eyes. The weight of the responsibility they now carried was immense, but so was the potential for good. Vargas closed his eyes and reached out with his newfound abilities, sensing the energy that pulsed around him. He felt the presence of the alien beings still nearby, guiding them, showing them the path forward. It was no longer a matter of technology or weapons, but of understanding the deeper truths of existence. He felt himself drawn to those truths like a magnet pulled toward its opposite, and in that moment he knew they had made the right choice. Humanity was not here to conquer the galaxy, but to learn from it, to grow and evolve alongside it. Raynor took a steadying breath as he turned to face the crew and the beings. Their path was no longer clouded with uncertainty. They were no longer just survivors, explorers, or conquerors. They were now a part of something much greater. They had unlocked the potential within themselves and had embraced the responsibility that came with it. The future was unwritten, but the first chapter had been written in light, and it was a beginning unlike any other. The galaxy would see their choices would shape everything that came after, and with that knowledge they stepped forward into the stars, knowing that humanity's true power lay not in what they could control, but in what they could become.